you for having me today. So my name is Darlene Johnson, and I'm the Chief Operations Officer here at Suncoast. I've been in this role for about 4 years now, but with the organization for 31 years. Personally, I have two sons, one's 29 and one's 18, and I love being a baseball mom.
What are some of the differences you've seen in women in leadership since you started working at the credit union?
So that's an interesting question because, as you know, our demographics do lean more towards females in the workplace at the credit union, which seems to be the trend across the cooperative landscape, which is interesting. When I was hired on to Suncoast, my leader at the time was a female, and she was a strong female, Betty Sorensen, for anybody watching this that might remember that. And, she was a leader that really gave opportunities to, I would say, young female professionals. She had a work group that she was very supportive of. And, she did more than just teach us how to be employees at Suncoast. I felt like she really taught us how to be professional women in the workplace. And so in terms of change, I feel like I had that from day one, that mentorship. And I really believe that we still have that here at Suncoast, that we have a strong foundation of women leaders and mentors that are very exciting and eager to bring that next generation up. So I don't know that it's changed because I think we've had that strong presence from day one.
Okay. And how do you balance work-life responsibilities?
Such a good question. First, I'll say I have a husband that does laundry. So, so he definitely helps, contribute to the household responsibilities. If I had to do it all, I don't know that I could. Earlier in my career, my older son is 29. And so earlier in my career, I'll admit that I had to make some difficult choices. There were baseball games that I missed. There were weekends that I was busy working on things such as volunteerism or car sales. And, I balanced it by when I was home, I made sure I was very present. And when I tried very hard early on not to bring work home as much as possible and find that separation. So when I'm at work, I'm 110% at work, and I try to do the same. I'll admit that as your responsibilities grow, that's a little harder to do. Now in my current role, I obviously need to be more accessible, and there are just times where it's easier for me to do things at night or on the weekends when I have that quiet time away from the office. So probably not as much of a balance. But I would say if I'm giving advice to the younger female generation coming up in the professional world, you have to be present. So if you're at work, be present. If you're at home with your family, be present, and find someone that is willing to help with the housework.
Yeah, definitely. Where do you see yourself in 10 years as a woman in leadership?
So 10 years is an interesting number because that's about my mark where I'll be starting to think about retirement. I'm 52 now, almost 53. So hopefully in 10 years, I'll be gearing up and seeing myself, lounging on the beach somewhere, enjoying the sun. But I do think that I have a little more to contribute here to Suncoast. And, I never say no to an opportunity. I grew up in lending. So of my 31 years, 23 of those years were spent in lending, either consumer and or mortgage. And I always joke that lending runs through my veins. I'm very passionate about lending. I love what I do today, but lending just built my foundation. So I feel like that's kind of where I started. And so, I don't know where I'll end up. I'll certainly be willing to contribute in any way that I can or any way that leadership sees fit. I don't think I would be in my role today if I didn't take a chance when someone asked me to do something outside of the box, because never in a million years did I think I would go to, learning and development. And that's, kind of the path I took that landed me where I am today.
Mhm.
So, I don't know where I'll end up before I leave Suncoast, but I'm always open to opportunity and willing to contribute however I can.
Yeah. And as a female leader, what has been the most significant barrier in your career, and how did it change you?
So, there are certain industries that we interact with that I'll say are more male dominant. And I'll give you an example. I started the indirect lending program in 1999. And as part of that, you go out and you were recruiting dealers and talking with general managers. And at that time, it was predominantly a male industry. There were, when you would go into the dealerships, the folks you were meeting with were predominantly male. Rather than seeing it as an obstacle, I saw it as a challenge, but that's just kind of who I am. So they certainly tried to put up barriers, and it was comical on times that I would have some of them ask, well, can you bring your boss back, or who's your boss? Can I talk to someone else? Right. As you were talking about joining teams or working together, they just weren't accustomed to having a lot of female callers in terms of financial institutions asking for business, right? Because at that time too, a lot of the traditional bankers, that was a more predominantly male industry as well. So they were engaging and interacting with more males. So as they tried to put up barriers and kind of discard you, because perhaps they didn't think I knew the industry, or they thought, I was younger at the time as well. So I'm sure with the two coupled, being female and being younger, that there wasn't confidence, I'll say, maybe in my knowledge. So what I did with that, I took it as a challenge, and I said, I'm going to show them that I absolutely have the knowledge, and I can do this job successfully, no matter how many times I have to knock on the door, no matter how many times I had to come visit. I did it independently. I never gave in to, some of the comments or the shut doors. And I was very persistent, and I kept showing and proving that I could do the job, and I knew the industry, and I could talk the talk. And then finally they kind of let their guard down. So it was good.
That's good. What is some advice you would share with young women entering a male dominated profession?
Yeah, that's a good question. I think the biggest thing is you have to have the confidence in yourself, and you have to be willing to take the time to learn and understand the industry. There's no gender when it comes to knowledge, right? Or the ability to learn something. That doesn't change based on gender. So we all have that as a level playing field. And so I'll say, before you go in and approach a situation or try to enter a new environment that perhaps is predominantly male, know the business. Okay. You have to have the knowledge, just to show that, I'm equal to your playing field, not because of my gender, but because I have the same knowledge that you have. And therefore I deserve to be here. And again, have the confidence to know that you do deserve to be there. And don't let anybody tell you can't do anything because of your gender, because that is absolutely false, and you have to keep moving forward.
Yeah.